Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Choma of Choma Stitches. So we're going to be learning how we made this exaggerated sleeve today, and you can also learn how we made the full gown in our Telegram group. The link will be in the description box below, so you can check it out. I drop some videos there sometimes too, and so yeah, the full gown was so much fun to make, and I hope you stay to the end of the video so that you learn how to make this exaggerated sleeve that we have here. Alright, okay guys, so I want to teach us how to make this ruched ruffles sleeve with organza, this exaggerated sleeve with organza. Okay, so to sew this sleeve, I have my basic pattern here, and this is my basic pattern, and I've already cut out the part that's going to be the cuff. So this sleeve has a cuff at the end, so this is going to be the cuff. I'm choosing this one to be my cuff, and so as you can see, I added a little bit extra to it. So the sleeve is supposed to be 23 inches, but I had already cut out 19 inches here, and I still added extra 3 inches because I want the sleeve to be very full, very exaggerated. And so to achieve that, I had to extend the length a little bit, and then you can see that there's excess allowance on the side. I have like 3 inches allowance on the sides. Okay, so that's the first thing you do. So the first thing you do is prepare your basic sleeve. I have a video on how I make basic sleeve pattern, so you can check it out in the description box below on how I create basic sleeve pattern, so that you can learn how you can make your sleeve pattern. Okay, so I'm going to set this one aside, and so this one, as you can see, I have marked out a line in the middle. So this is like demarcating the pattern into half, finding the middle of the pattern, and then now I am going to be creating more lines on the sides, lines on which I am going to be sewing the exaggerated sleeve, that the excess sleeve I'm going to be adding to it. So I said to create this line, I've decided that I'm going to have like 1 2 3 4 like 7 lines. So the first one is going to be the one in the middle, and then 3 on the sides, on each side. Okay, so to demarcate here, I've marked out 2.5 inches on this side, and here I cannot bring it down to 2.5 at the same time, so I came here and I brought it down to 2 inches on the down part. So I'm going to be connecting these straight lines. Okay, so I'm going to create this and set it aside. You know, organza is by 60. A yard is 36 inches by 60 in the width. Okay, so what I have here now is 2.5 yards for each sleeve. So yes, I am going to be pleating in. I will gather 2.5 yards for each sleeve in the full by 60 length. Okay, so to achieve that, I am going to go ahead and mark out these sleeves, this organza. So I'm going to be sewing a straight line that I'm going to gather from one edge to the other. Okay, I'm going to be starting from the yard, from the 2 yards on top. So I'm going to be marking it with 12 inches apart. So I'm going to sew straight 12. When I measure 12 yards, I will. So let me explain this with the paper, with a smaller. All right, so assuming this is my 2 yards of fabric, and this is the by 60 length of the fabric. Okay, this is the 2 yards of fabric, and this is by 60. So what I'm talking about is that I am going to, the same way I am ruling a line on the sleeve pattern, I am going to be sewing, making a loose stitch straight from the top all the way around to the length, the full 60 inches length. Okay, I'm going to rule it full. I'm going to sew a straight stitch down. I will sew, and then I will give a space 12 inches. I will sew another one, another space 12 inches, and sew another one. So I'm going to do this until I've completed the whole of the 2.5 yards. This, I'm using 2.5 yards because I want this to be really fluffy, to be very full. Okay, so now you can also decide that you don't want to use the tiny stitch to do it. You can decide to use a thread to tack it. Now that's the method I want to use. I want to use a thread to tack it. That way the gather will not be tiny. It will be kind of pleated as you are doing it. So if you use the sewing machine to do it, the stitches are usually tiny, and so the gather will become so tiny, and this is the much you can get out of it. So if it is this tiny, it will gather like this, but I want to use a hand needle to tack it. That way when I tack it, the pleats will be big. So when I'm done, it will have pleats that are looking to have gathers that are looking like pleats. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start tacking it, and then I will show us how I am going to tack it. So let me set this one aside so I can start tacking. It's going to take time. Using hand to tack it will definitely take time, but it is going to be worth the whole time. It will be worth it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be marking out 12 inches apart, and I'm going to rule it. This is going to help make my work easy when I am gathering it. So I am putting thread on my needle. Okay, so to achieve this, I'm going to start making my first knot. I'm just going to pass it. Now, instead of the normal way of using needle and machine and sewing tiny, I'm going to just giving space. So I'm going to sew it, giving a lot of space. That way, when I gather it, the effect will be more of pleats than gather. So this is what I'm talking about. See the way it's looking like it's splitting. And so I'll just pull my thread. So here, when I sew this, I am going to sew it up to the length of the 22 inches that we have on this thing. So I'm going to extend it to 22 inches and sew it. So this is it. I'm going to pull it in a way that it will be even, and then when you sew it on the 22 inches. So I'm just going to get 22 inches here, and I will tie it. So I have 22 inches. I am going to tie this. I have to knot it here so that it will not lose. So we gather it, and okay, this is also 22 inches like this. So I'm going to tie it. I'm going to tie the thread here, and then I'll go over to the next line and repeat the same thing on the next line. So now I am going to make a knot here and start running a straight stitch. So now I'm going to extend this one as well and make sure it's up to 22 inches. This is it. So I'm going to tie it as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pleat the rest of it up to the end of the 2.5 inches, and then I'll do that off camera, and then I'll come back and show us how we will attach it. Okay, here is the sleeve. You can see that I've marked out the lines for this where I'm going to be attaching it, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines, and this is the second sleeve as well. And so the places on the organza where I have tacked with my hand, where I'm trying to gather, is also 7 lines as well. So let me show us that quickly before we start attaching it to the sleeve pattern. Here it is. This is the gather I have made with my hand. So you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So here I'm going to be using the machine to sew a straight line here, a loose line that can gather here at the edge of the sleeve, and I'll do it on the other edge as well. So this is it. That's a complete 2.5 yards that I have gathered that we're going to be attaching to just one sleeve, and this is the second one on the floor, another 2.5 yards. It's just going to be a very, very full and exaggerated sleeve. So this is where I am going to be sewing the sleeves. If you look closely, you will see that I indicated where the front part of the sleeve is. So when I am done, I will also use this when I am attaching it. So I'm going to be starting with this. So like I said, I am going to be running a loose stitch here so that I can gather this place at the hem, at the end of the sleeve, when we are done sewing the gathered part. So I'm just going to be placing it, this gathered part, like so. I will just place it at the from the top and just start sewing it exactly on that line that I drew. I'm going to sew on it until we get to the end, and I'll bring this one closer. I'll bring this other one, that is why it's going to be full. So you now take this one, the other one, that's why there's 12 inches difference in between. I'll bring the other one and I'll start sewing it exactly here. So that is going to make this place and here poof out like this. Okay, by the time I'm done, you will see the gather will show, and it will even look like it's pleated because I used hand to gather this one instead of using the machine. So the spaces in between the gather is bold, is big, so it will come together and shrink like a pleat. So it will be like a gathered pleat. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take it to the machine. And so here I am going to be starting. I'm going to be starting. I will start by running a loose stitch here first. I'm going to run a loose stitch at the edge first before I do it. So now we're ready to attach it, and I'm going to be starting from the top. So meanwhile, I want to reduce this sleeve by, I don't want to be this long. Let me reduce it. So I'm going to make it 20. So I'm taking out 2 inches. So that this thing go full well. Yeah, it will be very full. So I'm going to start from the beginning. Try not to gather the beginning too much so that you have space to sew it when you are done, to sew it together. So here, so I have attached one side. Now I'm going to bring this one too, bring it forward and come to the second line and place this one here and start sewing. Okay, the chalk is fading, so I'm just going to keep remarking it. Okay, so here you have to try and follow the line. Okay, follow the line and sew it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is try and gather this place. I will try and gather this edge, the edge of the ruffles to the edge of the sleeve. So I am going to pin it and try and gather it on it the same, so that it will not be laying flat like that. It will align. Then I'm going to step on it. I'm going to sew it, without gathering it. Okay, so see that the thing is gathering. There is, see. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next line, and like I mentioned, the lines are cleaning, so I'm just going to use my hand and redraw the lines so that I can still see them when I'm working on it. So let's go back to the next line. The lines are cleaning, so it's still going to take a little while, but it will be worth it. It's time consuming, but it will be worth it at the end. So I'm going to keep remarking on the lines. Okay guys, I want to show you guys that so I'm done with this one. As you can see, this is the top of the sleeve, and I had to use this thread to indicate where the front of the sleeve is. Okay, this is when we cut the pattern of the sleeve, you know, the front and the back part, so I had to use it to indicate it. And so this is the down part, and so the edges are I gather the edges with normal machine gather, as you can see here. Okay, like I did at the beginning for this one. Okay, so what I'm going to go, and this is the fullness. Look at how it looks. This is just so full. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to pleat the end. I will be pleating here. I'm going to pleat this side together. I'm going to pleat it, and then I will attach, and I will pleat the end as well. I'll pleat the end as well, and then I will attach the cufflinks to it, and so, and also attach it, and then attach the whole sleeve to the bodies. Okay, so let's cut out the cufflink material. Okay, so this is the cufflinks. We had cut out 4 inches before, but I increased it by 1 inch, so I'm having 5 inches here. So I'm going to be using this I'm going to be attaching the cufflinks to the sleeve. So I cut it into 2, and so I cut it on fold. I cut the cufflinks on fold. So I'm going to take this one out and keep it, set it aside. So I'm going to be working with this one now. So just going to find the middle, find the center, and mark it. So now let's pleat this. Let me pleat this down part. So I'm just going to be gathering it here, and I will sew it on top of the sleeve. Okay, so now that I have it together, it's going to be easier to manage. I'm just going to trim out the part that was pleated excess, like longer than the main sleeve. So I'm just going to trim this part so that everything will be on the same line. It will be easier to attach the cufflink to it when they are on the same line. Okay, so see, I've trimmed it out. So now I can attach this ones. So what I'm going to do is take the first one. This is the middle. I'm going to get the middle of this one like so, and I'm going to merge it right side to right side, and I will pin. And by the way, the fabric I'm using under is the same fabric I'm using for the skirt part of the dress. Okay, so that's why it's a bit different. So now that I've sewn it here, this is it. So I am going to now fold it and I'm going to fold in here with 1/2 inch and pin it down, and then I'm going to top stitch it. Alright, so I'm going to start top stitching it from the front. Okay, I had to make sure I repinned everything so that everything will stay together. Okay, so I've sewn it, and this is it. So by the time you join it together, you will have a cuffling underneath. Okay, so now I am going to go ahead and pleat the edge and then sew it to the bodice. So I have pleated the top as well, so it's time to attach it to the bodies of the gown. So here is our gown. So I'm going to be top stitching. I'm going to be sewing, attaching the sleeve to it. This place is part of the front, so I'm going to match here to get the middle, and then I'm going to start sewing it. So this is basically the way you attach a normal sleeve. That's how you are going to attach it. Okay, there's no big difference. Okay, so this is it. I have sewn one side of the sleeve, and this is it. And to conceal the cuffling, you just turn it this way, you just fold it in and sew the way you will sew a normal sleeve. Although I am thinking whether I should use a zip on this cuffling to make it finer. I'm still thinking about it, so while I'm thinking about it, meanwhile, you guys head over to our Telegram group to watch the full video of how I made the gown that I am attaching this sleeve to. Okay, so the link to the Telegram group is in the description box below. The video is long because it consists of two different parts of both the drafting and cutting of the skirt part, the lower bodies, the bustier upper bodies, the basic block bodies, and the sleeve drafting. Like, it's full package. So head over to the link in the description box and join the Telegram group now.